Hi guys, Rick Malavi here. I was going to do a play blast of this, but I decided to actually make a short video to show how that I set up these canners and these back fins on this RIM 116 searam missile, how I set them up so that they retract. Now the fins in the back I'm very sure fold over. I can see from the reference images that there's a hinge here, and when they fold over, they pretty much fit inside of the barrel of the rocket launcher. If I, however, from the reference images, I couldn't quite figure out how these front canners folded in. The slot in the side here is actually shorter than the length of the canner. When I rotate these out, you'll see. And so if I simply pivoted the canner back, it would intersect with the front of the slot. So in order for this canner to really fit, it has to not only pivot in Y, but it has to also go back in Z, and it also has to go inward in X on both sides. When I did that, however, the canners are wide enough that they would intersect with one another. So I came up with this goofy thing where they actually went forward and pivoted in sort of an arc, but that allowed some portion of the canner to stick out of the side here, and I didn't quite think that would be the way that they would engineer it. So I rethought it, and the problem I had with the intersection using this configuration is that I wasn't thinking in 3 dimensions. I simply pivoted the canners in and pushed them back, and they would intersect. But they also rotate, and that's actually what these are. These are the control surfaces for the missile. They rotate up and down. They can make the missile spin. They can make the missile go. The front of this missile pivot up and down around its center of gravity. So the solution I came up with is if I do exactly what I originally wanted to do, which was pivot them in Y, move them in X, or move them back in Z, and then I also move them in X. If I add one more step to this and I rotate this cannered up and this cannered down, you can see it's actually rotated, I'm sorry, this one is, yeah, it's rotated down, and this one is rotated up. And if I show you this from the front view, you can see a little bit better what I'm talking about. Internally, so the canners come in, and this one pivots up, and this one pivots down, and so internally they don't intersect. Now, for modeling purposes, this really wouldn't matter because A, you'll probably never see this in any kind of animation unless you really zoom in on the missile and kind of go into a bullet time effect and then show the, slow motion, show the canners and the fins retracting or extending. But I just wanted, the engineer in me just wanted to figure out how they would really package this thing up to fit it into the tube of a launcher. I keep moving my mouse off cursor because I have another screen, and here's the actual rocket. So basically this thing has to fit into one of these tubes, and this is the way they do it. They fold it all up. And so the widest part of this missile right now is the outer edges of these two probe-like things at the front here. So as long as these will fit in the tube, or these guys will retract tightly enough so that they're smaller than this diameter here, between the outsides of these two probes, then it'll fit in the tube. So, and now you can see, I like this version better because all you see is a slot here initially, and then when everything extends, this is what it looks like up here. Right now, from this front wireframe view, if I actually scrub through, I've got a little locator that I have a attribute called fin retract set up on, and if I scrub through that, you can see how everything comes out really nicely and then locks in the extended position. And then if I scrub it back the other way, you can see how everything folds up and doesn't intersect with anything. Now, for modeling purposes, I do get some intersection back here with the body of the rocket, but I'm not sure if the thickness is correct. I had to eyeball all of this. All I had was like one 3/4 view image and a close-up image of the front portion of this missile after a lot of times Googling and looking for images. So I could probably fix this up a little bit more if I extended these ends out and if I built these hinges properly. But once again, it's all about illusion. It's not about the actual thing. You're never going to get close enough to this where you'll see all this intersection happening back here. And in fact, this internal setup that I did is really more than you need, because once the fins are inside the rocket, it really doesn't matter for purposes of animation. You'll never see these guys intersect internally, and you'll never have a shot inside the rocket. But the engineer in me just wanted to make sure I figured out how they would do it, or how I would do it if I was an engineer. You notice it works out because just from the proportions that I was able to pick off of the reference images I have, I mean, this works perfectly at the pivot point of these canards here, these flight surfaces. When they do pivot the angle they need to pivot so they don't intersect with each other, it just worked out perfectly that this edge ends up completely parallel with the slot, the size of the slot opening. So this really makes sense to me as to how I probably pull it inside of the rocket. If I come back to a side view here, and I come out a wireframe, and then I scrub through it, you can see what it would look like from outside. So they come out, they don't intersect anything through the process. And so basically that's extended, and then they come in, and in the real rocket they pop out probably about that fast. So it's pretty fast when it comes out of the tube, how everything extends. So that's how I rigged it up. I thought it'd be interesting. I just love rigging stuff like this and kind of sitting here scrubbing it back and forth. It's hard to actually get work done because I sit here for a long time just going, wow, this is kind of cool. Anyway, this has been Rick Malava with SimplyMy.com, and once again, my nickname on the forums is CTBRam. I hope you guys found this interesting, and thanks for watching. I hope you like the model, by the way.